Women, How to Protect Yourself, Part 2. Women, How to Protect Yourself, Part 2. What's up, everybody? My name is Kier, and you are watching The Important Things That Really Matter. Today, we're going to be talking about Women, How to Protect Yourself, Part 2. Women, How to Protect Yourself, Part 2. If you haven't looked at Women, How to Protect Yourself, Part 1, make sure you look at that video. And then also look at the other 3 videos too, called How to Protect Yourself, Part 1, How to Protect Yourself, Part 2, How to Protect Yourself, Part 3. If you go to my playlist, there'll probably be about 6 or 7 videos all up under the How to Protect Yourself series. Okay, so this is Women, How to Protect Yourself, Part 2. Now, before we get into this, would you please like, would you please share? It's very, very important that you share this with as many people as possible. It's very, very important that you share this video with as many women and as many men as possible. Okay, because it's very, very important. There's too many people been laid off. Thousands upon thousands of people that's either been laid off by some large companies, laid off or fired by large companies, or the government is projected to be laying off or fire 250,000 to about 300,000 government employees. And all these thousands upon hundreds of thousands of people that's in the process of being laid off or have already been laid off or fired, they're going to start overwhelming the unemployment system, okay? And you're only going to get so many weeks of unemployment. And so some of these people are going to be not only have a job, but then they're going to eventually run out of unemployment also too. So basically, in a nutshell, these are the people that you're going to eventually end up having to look out for to be able to protect yourself from. You're going to have to look out for more than just Pookie and Ray Ray. You're going to have to look out for more than just Pookie, Isha, and Shaniqua. You're going to have to be looking out for regular, everyday people that may have been fired or laid off from their jobs. That includes tech jobs too. Regular everyday people you may have to be watching yourself for. There's some people there was one lady that was in Walmart, and she noticed that a couple of people were looking at how much she had in her basket. And so basically, in a nutshell, there's people out here watching what you're buying while you're in the stores. And so you have to watch yourself when you're leaving a store or leaving a mall. You gotta watch your back. Look and see who's following you in the parking lot. Look and see who may be following you back to your house, okay? Gotta be careful, gotta be careful. So one of the things you can do to be able to protect yourself, what I recommend to everyone right now, go to your nearest gun range, and take the 8-hour course. Take the 8-hour course at the nearest gun range that's near you. And the 8-hour course at the nearest gun range is going to cost anywhere from $80 to a little bit over $100. They're going to talk about gun laws. They're going to talk about gun safety. They're going to be talking about gun etiquette. They're going to be talking about, what else are they going to be talking about? They're going to be talking about when can you shoot, when can you not shoot. So make sure you take plenty of questions with you when you go to enroll for this 8-hour course. The 8-hour course, the 8-hour certificate that you get is with that certificate, you can take that certificate and take it either to the city or take the certificate to the state, and then apply for what they call a CCW, which is carrying a concealed weapon. Carrying a concealed weapon, and in some places it's called a CPL, which is the same thing as carrying a concealed weapon. But you can't really get that until after you take the 8-hour course and they give you your certificate. Because once you go to the state or once you go to the city, they're going to ask you for your certificate. And the certificate is going to show that you've been trained about the laws concerning handguns, the rules in using handguns, handgun itequette, handgun safety, and the laws, which I've already talked about. And the certificate is going to show that you have been trained those things, those items, and that's going to give you the ability to be able to get to what they call the CCW, also or CPL, also known as carrying a concealed weapon. Why is that important? It's very important because approximately 80% of the time where somebody has to use a handgun to defend themselves, approximately 80% of the time, it is done on their property. It is done on their property. Approximately 80% of the time where somebody has to defend themselves, it is done on their property. That means you're having to defend yourself with a handgun at your apartment, or you having to defend yourself with a handgun for being assaulted or attacked or robbed on your property, at your house, in your front yard, in your backyard, in your garage, or people are literally kicking your door in the middle of the night trying to come in to try to rob you. Okay, there, as I stated in one of the previous videos, they had, like I said, 80% of people that have to use handguns have had to do this on their own property. So you should actually literally be on your property with your handgun protecting yourself. And then at nighttime, when you go to sleep, you take your handgun and you put it in the safe then. All right. So it's very, very important to know this information, because a lot of people think they're safe when most of the crime, most of the assaults are being taken place 80%, approximately 80% of the time on your property. Okay. This is very, very important for you to know. So this is why you want to go to the nearest gun range and take their 8-hour course that's going to teach you all those things. You take that certificate to the city, you take that certificate to the state so that you can get a CCW. They give you a little license to have your own CCW, even though it's Constitution anyway, it's part of the Constitution anyway. So, but anyway, that's another subject for another day. All right, so there's some very, very important things I need to talk to you about today. Number one, you have to be careful. So once you've done all this and you have your handgun, you have your handgun, and you have your CCW, a license to carry a concealed weapon. Anyway, you have to be careful. When you're taking your handgun and you're putting it into your holster, okay, you have to be careful and be aware of what you're doing. Because if you're taking your holster and you're putting your holster in, taking your handgun and you're putting it into your holster, sometimes your clothes can get pulled into your holster also too. This can be a problem. How can it be a problem if your handgun has part of your clothes in your holster with your handgun? Well, when you go to pull your handgun out, the clothes that's in the holster that your handgun is in could have wrapped around the trigger, okay? And you pull it off and it could pull the trigger and cause your trigger of your handgun to go off. So you have to be very, very careful when you're taking your handgun and you're putting it into your holster. You have to be aware of what's going on. You can't be sitting up here running your mouth and putting your handgun into your holster, because you can put it in there with your and pulling your clothes into the holster too. So which could make it fire when you're trying to pull your handgun out. That's very, very important. Very, very important. So you got to be very, very, very careful when you're putting your handgun in your holster. Okay, I talked about that. Number two, what is extremely important to know, there is a debate on whether you should carry a round, also known as a bullet. There's a debate as to whether you should carry a round or a bullet in the chamber of the gun, the handgun. There's a debate. To me, it's not really a debate, because I've seen first-handly from other people who've had her. I knew a lady who I used to work with. She had her handgun. She had her handgun on her. And so I guess I think she was leaving the class that we were attending. And when she got into her car, I think her clothes, somehow she carried a bullet, or a bullet and a round is the same thing, okay? She carried a bullet, she carried a round in the chamber. And I think somehow or another, when she was sitting in the car, she was I think she was trying to pull her handgun out of the holster, but I think what happened was her clothes had got pulled into the holster when she was putting her handgun in, and her clothes, I think, got wrapped around the trigger. And so when she pulled it out, the clothes that went into her holster pulled the trigger as she was pulling it out, and it fired on herself. She had to take herself to the hospital. So that's number one reason why I don't recommend that people carry a round in the chamber or a bullet in the chamber, because you can accidentally fire it yourself if you accidentally pull your clothes into the holster with your handgun. That's number one. Now that's from personal experience, because I knew the lady that I was with who shot herself. And I think that's what happened to her when she shot herself in her car. And she had to take herself to the hospital. There was another guy, there was a white guy. I think the same thing happened to him. The guy had he had a round in the chamber, a round also known as a bullet in the chamber, and he had it on him. They had a videotape of him. He was, I don't know what happened. He was trying to pull his handgun out. I think it was in a gun shop. I think the guy was in a gun shop or so. He was trying to pull, I think he was trying to pull his handgun out, and I think his clothes had went into the holster with his handgun. When as he was trying to pull it out, it fired and shot itself in his private part. I'm like, wow, if that ain't a deterrent for not carrying a bullet in the chamber of your handgun, if that's not a deterrent, I don't know what is. They got this guy on video shooting himself in his private part. Like I said, I don't know if he had, while he had put his handgun into his holster, whether he pulled some clothes, his shirt into it, and when he pulled it out, the sucker fired. So this is the second reason. These are the reasons why. If you have a round or bullet in the chamber, you can accidentally shoot yourself. But even with taking the utmost precautions, also too, you can have a handgun and you can be around a bunch of children. Say for instance, you have children, and if you have a round in the chamber and you have your handgun on you, which if you're at home, you probably should, because 80% of the assaults, 80% of people being robbed or being assaulted, 80% of the time, approximately 80% of the time, is done on the person's property, at the person's home, on the person's property, at the person's apartment. Okay? So if you have children, you should not carry a round or a bullet in the chamber, because you have the bullet in the chamber. Your kids could be, your kids are at knee level and they're tapping you, mommy, tapping you. You don't want them to be tapping on the gun, because another reason that you don't want to carry a bullet or a round in the chamber, not only because of children and not only because of safety, is because there's approximately 5 different handguns that will go off by themselves if you bump up against something. Let me say that again. There are approximately 5 different handguns that will go off if you just bump up against something. So you need to go do some research and find out what those 5 handguns are and what manufacturers there are that makes those 5 handguns, okay? Because if you have one of those handguns, and I don't want to mention the handguns because I don't want to get in trouble with the handgun manufacturers, but there are about 5 different handguns that if you bump into them, they're on you, you got them on you, and you happen to bump into something, we always bumping into something sooner or later, the handgun could fire itself if you have a round in the chamber or you have a bullet in the chamber. So there are 5 handguns that will go off by themselves. There's these same handguns, if you take the handgun and drop them on the ground, as soon as they hit the ground, they'll fire too. They have video of handguns that have been just dropped on the ground. And when those handguns were dropped on the ground, they fired. Handguns are not supposed to fire when they hit the ground. There's supposed to be safety mechanisms in handguns to prevent them from firing if you bump up against them, or if your handgun has to come out and fall and hit the ground. It's not supposed to fire. This is another reason why you do not want to carry around, why you don't want to carry a bullet in the chamber. You got it? Now, I gave you different examples. Clothes being pulled into your holster while you putting your handgun into your holster, and the clothes wrapping around the trigger could possibly cause it to fire. Number 1. Number 2, you may have children, which is another reason why you don't want to carry around or a bullet in the chamber. A lot of times they're up there, mommy, they're hitting you, and you don't want them to hit your handgun, and then it fire. This is another reason why you don't want to carry them around in the chamber, a bullet in the chamber. Okay, it's the other one. Oh, I was telling you also too, there's about 5 handguns that's out there that if you just bump up against something, they will fire. And I can't go into the 5 handguns, but you're gonna have to go and do the research on yourself. You have to go and do research yourself to find out what those handguns are so that you don't carry one in the chamber. Okay, you follow me? Follow me. All right, what else? Let's see. Another thing that's extremely, extremely important that you need to know about is, like, in the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan allows people, the last time I found out about it, not too long ago, the state of Michigan allows people to what they call open carry. And there are other states that are like that too, where you can open carry your weapon out in the open, so long that everybody sees it. Well, the problem with that is you got some of these idiots that are out here, okay? You can look online and check for your own self. There's a video of a Detroit police officer going into, it looked like he was going into a party store, and one of these young, stupid idiots, they ain't been trained properly by their parents, decided that he was gonna take the Detroit police officer's handgun from his holster while the man is walking into the store. Well, it could have ended really badly. And I'm gonna tell you honest truth, I don't think hardly anybody would have had a problem with that police officer doing what he had to do to that person, okay? So if you're that stupid to try to take a police officer's handgun, then you deserve to get what you get. You know, but there's some idiots out here that are like that. So you don't want to carry your handgun out in the open. You follow what I'm saying? You want to have it inside your belt, inside your waistline, okay? That's why I said go get your certificate and then go to the state or the city so they can give you a carry and conceal weapon, carry and conceal license card, so where you can take your handgun and put it inside. You can take your handgun and put it inside your belt, inside of your waistline, instead of carrying it out in the open. Because you got these idiots out here that'll try to take your handgun. They had an African-American woman. This African-American woman was going up to, I guess, to the cashier of the party store. So the African-American woman went up to the cashier of the party store, and she had her handgun out in the open where everybody could see it. And while she was up there trying to buy something, this idiot walks behind her and takes the handgun right out of her holster and ran out of the door. And she's doing like this. She didn't know what to do. Guy came up behind her and took her handgun right out of her holster. Okay? So this is another reason why you don't want to carry around in the chamber. Also a reason why you don't want to carry what they call open carry your handgun. Because people can come behind you, take your gun out, and run out the door. And there was another guy, there was a guy who had his, and he was walking he had his handgun, and he was what they call open carrying, so everybody could see it, his handgun out in the open. Well, while the guy was at a gas station purchasing something from the cashier, one of these young idiots walked up right behind the guy and took his gun right out of his holster and went out the door. And so the guy's like, man, give me my gun back, man, give me my gun back. So the guy went out the door. The guy who had the gun taken from him, he went out the door, tried to tell him, man, give me my gun back. He gave the gun back, all right. He shot the guy several times. So these are reasons why you don't want what they call open carry, because you got some of these idiots that ain't been trained properly by their parents, and there's a whole lot of them ain't been trained properly by their parents, that will try to take your handgun off you if you open carrying. Follow what I'm saying? So these are the main reasons why you don't want to necessarily open carry. These are some of the main reasons, as I stated before, why you don't want to carry around in the chamber. And don't forget to do your research. Hold on. Before I go into the research of the guns again, please like, please share, please subscribe. Share this with as many people as possible. Share this with as many women and men as possible. Share this with as many men and as women as possible. All right, please like, please share, please subscribe. Also too, please go back and rewatch this video again. So that you know that you need to investigate and do research on the 5 handguns that will shoot just by bumping up against something. You need to go do research on it. They had a police officer, and he had a body cam on him. A police officer had a body cam on him. All he was doing was getting out of his patrol car, his hands up here. He's getting out of his patrol car, handgun fired. On his own, his hands were nowhere near his gun. You follow me? So you need to go do your research on what 5 handguns will go off by themselves, by you bumping up against something, or if the gun happened to come out of the holster and hit the ground, there are 5 handguns that will fire by themselves, okay? So go do the research, go do the research, go do the research, go do the research, go protect yourself, go take the 8-hour class at your nearest gun range, and peace.